So you feel stuck in life. You're not happy with your job, not so much with your partner. Friends aren't that good either. Just the living circumstances, nothing is right. And you look around like, man, I've tried, and I just can't change. I just can't seem to change this situation. What if what you're stuck in is not life, but something different? In fact, two things: scarcity and attachment. These two forces will keep you looping the same story no matter how many times you try to start. Let me show you why. Welcome to DegloireSpace, where we identify that glory is our birthplace and we choose to live our lives with absolute grace. Let's start with scarcity. Scarcity is a type of mindset that if you have it, you need to shift it right away. Basically, there's no good side to it. In scarcity, you're basically saying what I'm experiencing and what I have, this is all there is. This is the only reality. And when you believe that, you trap yourself into that reality. So basically, you only have one way of seeing things. And this is not only limiting, the problem with it is it's false. When you think that your reality is the only one, the first thing you're doing is you're being arrogant. You're putting people away. You're saying that their reality does not apply. There's nothing for me to learn from it. There's nothing that I can connect to. Naturally, with a mentality like that, you are putting down the seeds that are perfect for insecurity to grow. In short, you're basically telling the rest of the world that their reality is not true. A friend of mine was living here, and certain social dynamics he didn't like, so he wanted to move. My advice at the time was, look, I don't think that moving is going to change your social dynamics. These characters that you're seeing, wherever you go, they're gonna be there. Do not believe for a moment that you're gonna go to a country where everybody is suddenly nice to you. Everyone wants you to be a winner. Nobody in that place has any ill will towards you. And I told him, these characters that you have here, they're just going to appear in the other place with different names. And in fact, maybe about 3 years later, he was running into the same problems again. The same blockages that he had here, and he has them over there. The same characters are just appearing with different names. Environment changed, but the scarcity mindset was still there. You could travel to a new place, meet new people, get a new job. But if your mindset is stuck, the problem is you will not be able to see it, because you'll meet a new person and you'll be like, wait a second, that person is trying to trick me the same way as the other person. Or you get into a new job and you're like, hey, it's the same pattern as the old one. Nothing's changed. And then what you're basically doing is you start turning blind to new opportunities. You stop being fresh. You stop seeing anything new. Could that be the real meaning of getting old? Now let's couple those two things together, scarcity and attachment. You might believe in abundance, but when you come to act, your emotional side that's attached doesn't let you go so easily. It becomes so hard to let go. You can see the opportunity, but you can't move. It's like you're paralyzed in your place. That conflict between what I feel and what I believe, this is the doorway to inner conflict. Let's be clear though, I'm not advocating to be against attachment, because attachment is necessary for your emotional growth. If you don't get attached during your life, then you never develop your emotional awareness. You're basically, and if you're avoiding it, that's even worse, because it's like you're building a house, and in the house you're saying, you know what, you can't see the plumbing, so let's not do the plumbing because you can't see it, So you build the house and you haven't got any plumbing there. Sooner or later, there's going to be a leakage. And then that leakage is going to cost you a lot because you haven't developed the foundation. Attachment is absolutely necessary for your emotional growth. So what's the answer to all this? Well, the opposite of scarcity is abundance. It's this belief that there is always more. There's something waiting for me. There's something I just need to take a step in the right direction and doors will open. In the start, it's going to feel awkward because you're basically walking into a dark room. You're walking into that room. You can't see anything around you. You're trying to walk towards the switch, but once you switch it on, you'll see that this room has food for you, or it might be a place that's good to sleep in. It's all about walking into that room and switching the light. So abundance is a mindset that you have to train yourself into. The more you train yourself and then walk in, and opportunities open, you start believing it more and more. Well, more than believing it, you start seeing it more and more. Those who seek, obtain. Abundance basically now means that you start seeing that this opportunity that you're in now is not the only way. There are many doors and there are many ways to get to one place. You start understanding that the reality you're experiencing is just one possibility. You can, with dedication, switch realities. Think of it like you're in a village and you're always drawing water from a well. Now, that well might dry up and you might look and say, oh, there's a little bit of water there, I'll make do with that. If you do that, you'll be stopping yourself from so many other wells. Yeah, it's good to be grateful, but if that's not gratitude, that's a lot of times that's more like I'm scared to go somewhere else. And that well becomes your issue. That well becomes your problem. Because now you're like, oh, you're sitting there, the well's dried, but you're just saying, at least there's a well, at least there's a well. You open new doors and life will show you new ways. So let's get something straight. Detachment versus attachment. Now, this is not as simple as when we're looking at scarcity versus abundance. I will tell you, scarcity versus abundance, scarcity is never the choice. Abundance is always the choice. With detachment and attachment, there is more intelligence required. Too much attachment and you become dependent. Too much detachment and you lose life altogether. Suddenly you start lacking color. You lack any intensity in your life. There was a friend of mine and we worked together and we were pretty close and actually quite attached to each other in the sense that, you know, if the end of the day comes, I wouldn't leave until he's finished. He wouldn't leave until I'm finished. So basically, you know, even sometimes we'd wait for each other 20 minutes after hours. These are hours you're not even getting paid for. But this was our kind of relationship. And then life had it that he wanted to go and experience living and working overseas. Of course, that made me sad because suddenly here, my attachment, and I had to go through detachment. But of course, I'm not going to be one to stop him from traveling and seeking. And that's, you know, a good friend will try to open doors for their friend. But no doubt it made me sad. However, when he left, it left me to myself. And I basically started to see joy in some things else. For example, I started working on my own ideas, my own side hustles, things like that. If he had still stayed there, I was comfortable. So was the attachment good or bad? It had its both sides. And this is where you start seeing that sometimes the attachment might hold you back. Sometimes the attachment might be beneficial for you. You need a combination of both. Detachment is also not always your choice. Sometimes life forces you. For example, the obvious one is losing somebody. You know, somebody passes away. You got no choice. You've detached. That's it. Sometimes you outgrow relationships. Sometimes life pulls you in new directions. When you grow emotionally, you start to learn and see these signals. And then suddenly when you attach deeply. You're not just being superficial, trying, I don't want to get hurt, so I'm not going to get attached. You attach and you attach deeply. And then when it's time to let go, you release gracefully. It's exactly like changing trains. You get on a ride and you're going somewhere, you enjoy the ride. But when it's time to change your train and go in another direction, you can't hold on to the old train and say, but it was such a good train. You don't fight it. You take the next train. And then the next train, you enjoy that one and you've left the other one behind. So to put all these ideas together, scarcity closes you, abundance opens you, attachment connects you, detachment frees you. And emotional maturity is the dance between all those together. And this is what we're building here. This is how we grow. Do not neglect your emotional side. And your emotional side goes hand in hand with the abundance mindset. You can't create an abundance mindset just by thinking about it, just by sitting there going, yeah, I'm abundant now. you're going to be faced with the devils of emotional attachment. And if you haven't developed those, when you're on your way to abundance, those demons are going to appear. And when they appear, you're going to get the fright of your life because you haven't faced them before. This channel is not about quick fixes. It's about growth that actually lasts. So if you're tired of surface level mindset talk, this is the space for you. Subscribe and stay close.